Hey guys, welcome back to 4K Motoring. I'm Chris, and today we have another Corvette video for you. So what we have here behind me is a new part I ordered. So we'll go ahead and open it up and I'll kind of talk about it here. So with the Corvette, it's obviously rear transmission, kind of the transaxles in the rear, still manual transmission. Throws are a little bit long, not that big a deal. But here's what I found today. So I ordered this. This is kind of a long story. I had found on one of the Facebook Marketplace ads a guy that was parting out his, I guess, wrecked C5 Z06 car. And with that, he had a short throw shifter kit that he was going to get rid of for a decent price. I was not able to meet up with him. He was kind of flaky a little bit. I ended up having warrants out for his arrest. That was a whole different issue. So I, on a whim, went looking on eBay for the same thing and ended up finding, for the same price that we had agreed to, a brand new Fidanza short throw shift kit. Comes with stickers, so obviously you know it's a good product. But here it is, made for the C5 Corvette. From what I've seen, it should be a pretty easy installation. It can all be done from on top of the car. So we'll go ahead and give that a try. This can use the factory style shift knob. It's got a place for the locking collar to fit in. It can also use just normal thread-on ones. It comes with this aluminum one. Going to get very hot in the summertime, I would imagine. Very cold in the winter, so that's not going to stay, but at least to protect the threads, it is there. So all in all, not a bad product for the price. We'll go ahead and see how hard it is to install, so stay tuned. So this is the factory shifter here, as you guys are probably pretty familiar with. As you can see, the throws are actually pretty long here to go all the way through the gears. Kind of do it quickly. And you can see, we'll kind of break down that timing to see what changes. But the big thing I want to do here is just really see how far these throws are. And we'll actually go from here from first to second. So having the ruler right here at the nose or at the front of the shift knob, we'll go ahead and pull it from first to second and kind of see our travel. Okay, so the nose is about 5 inches. So we went from the front back to about 5 inches. So we have about 5 inches of travel from one gear to the next. Obviously that takes a lot of time, takes a lot of movement. Shifts don't feel bad. They do feel pretty secure in this car, so I'm not too worried about that. They do take just a little bit of effort to get in, but I can still with one finger get them in, you know. So factory, that's not bad. The effort's not terrible. It is a long throw. We'll go ahead and test this next short throw shifter in there, the Fidanza, and we'll see what kind of difference it makes to see if it's really worth it. As you may be able to hear, it is now starting to rain here. So we're trying not to overheat ourselves and also get this done somewhat quickly here. So to get this off, we have to pull basically this trim panel off, this main bezel. We're going to be changing it out soon anyway when we upgrade our head unit here. But in the meantime, there's a couple things that has to happen. There's a couple screws that hold this head unit in. They're Torx bits. I'll post that size here in just a moment. We've got to get this shift knob and most importantly shift boot out. Evidently there's no real way to get that to come out otherwise. So they say. This one, the ring is broken on it. So I'm thinking somebody might have forced it through in the past without taking it all apart. But we're going to go ahead and do that today. We'll take that apart. And then you have to take the center console itself out just to unseat these two pieces. From there, it's a pretty simple install from what I see. So we'll go ahead and give that a try here. To get this shifter out, we first have to take off this plug on top here. Now, everything I've seen seems like the consensus is this top piece just kind of pops out. It's just put on with tension in there, so get just a little pick. Try not to scratch it too bad. There we go. So this is just a plug or a cover. Don't throw it. Has a shift pattern on it. Nothing else too unique about it. All right, so we'll set that aside so we don't lose it. And now we have this metal pin, as you can see right there in our shifter. Okay, right there. That's got to come out. Now, it seems like everybody I see just takes 2 screwdrivers on the edges and pries upwards. There's some signs that that's been done before. So we'll go ahead and give that a shot first, just to see if that's going to get us there. There we go. Okay, well that was a little bit quicker than I expected to come out. So if you didn't really catch it, while putting screwdriver on both sides of this, prying upwards, it didn't really start to move until it released all at once. You can see it looks like a little bit of oxidation on there. I don't think that thing's been out in a while, but we can see now on the shifter that leather is cracking, so I think that's about done. So we'll set that aside, we'll save it. Now the shifter should just unscrew. That key that was in there just keeps it from twisting on you. So now that that is out, it's very simple just to unscrew here. All right, and with that, that is the factory shift knob. Pretty easy. Go ahead and take this boot out. So this boot has been broken, which tells me when they did my clutch, or at some point somebody did some maintenance on this and did not go through all this step. But you can see it's got a couple retaining clips all the way around it. Not even outside the leather. There it is. That hold it into this bezel here. With those out, pretty easy process. I think the rain has stopped for now so we can get some airflow. All right. At this point, we're going to just start working on getting the bolts out that's going to remove this trim bezel here. Should be pretty easy to do that. So this ashtray here pulls out. We can set that aside, and we see we've got 1, 2. This one's actually missing, which might explain some of our noises, and I believe there's another one over here. All right, next we're going to go ahead and use a pick here to get this cover off. This is for the interior air pressure sensor, and it just pops off very easily. Make sure you keep up with everything and know where they're going. So for this bezel, the front of this bezel, we have a Torx bit here, again here, and should be another one here. This one's missing. During this process, if you drop any of them, they tend to just get lost forever. So that's, I'm guessing, what's happened when this has been taken apart before. So we'll go ahead. This is a T15. I don't know if that's in focus. It probably isn't. This is a GoPro. T15. We'll get these out. So we'll go ahead and start that process here. So you can see the size of these. Always good to have a place to put them. Cup holders work great. This is the one you have to be careful of. These front ones. So that one's out. And if I had to guess, when this one was taken out, it fell in one of these holes and got lost. So from there, that is the front. What we have to do now is work on the console. Okay, so we're going to work our way back to the console now, back to the glove box. So we're going to start by opening that up. Remember, that's a double hinged door, so you don't pin it against that emergency brake. We've got this piece here, the active handling cover here, that really just pops out. So a little pry bar on this side will be helpful. And you can see it's got just a clip on both sides. Towards the middle is all that holds it in just by tension. So we'll go ahead and take that out. And you don't have to, but it does have some clips on it that if you can easily wiggle loose, would make the rest of this a good bit easier. All right, there's that. We unplug both of those. I cut a little bit of that. So moving back here, we found a screw, so that's nice. See where that goes? That's one of these top ones there. It's probably stripped, which is why it's out. We'll save that here for later. We'll put it in our bolt bin. We've got two plugs right here that have to come out, okay? And those are gonna reveal a couple 10mm screws underneath. Same with this. There are two 10mm bolts right in here we'll take out. And this cigarette outlet, we'll go ahead and unplug that as well. So now we've got all that unplugged. 4 10mm bolts, and then this whole thing should just lift out. Okay, now that we have all of those out, it should be pretty easy for this center section just to lift out and slide backwards. We will have one button we've got to take care of here, okay? This doesn't have to come all the way out of the car. This just needs to be loose so we can get this main piece. Wiggle it all loose here, and once we do that, we are good. It may help to put this emergency brake down when you do this. That'll let it slide out. Be very careful as you come out. You don't want to pull anything that doesn't need to be pulled or break any of these little clips. The cigarette outlet that's got to be unplugged that has a couple easy to remove clips. There we go. And with that, I believe we are free. So there we are. This is our bezel. So on the back of this trim piece, the cigarette outlet has a bracket just like that. It just has two clips, one on each side. They're very easy just to get your fingers behind and pop it off, and it'll just come right out. You can see we have our locating pins, one on each side, and these top clips that hold this whole unit in. So make sure when you're pulling it out, you get those released. It does come out pretty easily at that point. Okay, next we've got 4 10mm bolts, just like before, that we're going to use to get this cover off that holds the shifter in place. And from there, we should have pretty good access to replacing the shifter. So we'll go ahead and work our way around here. These all do not seem to be very tight. And with that done, we'll set that aside. We'll put our bolts for that separate from our console bolts, even though I believe they're the same. Sorry, the nuts. This piece lifts right off. Still looks like it's in pretty good shape, good quality. The rubber still feels nice and supple. Does need cleaned a little bit, but we'll save that. That's going to go back on the car. And in here, we have our shifter. So you can see we've got 4 bolts on the outside. So we'll go ahead and work on that, and I'll show you what we're going to be replacing it with. All right, here's our short throw shifter. As we can see, the bottom is just the straight ball mount. I believe there's a cup that's probably going to be transplanted from the old one to the new one. Maybe a little new grease added. The ball in here has plenty of grease. The return springs have grease on them already, so this should all be pretty good to go. We'll go ahead and bring this over to the car and work on installing it, and hopefully it should just be those 4 screws, the mounting hardware inside, transferring it, and that should be that. For those of you that aren't familiar with what a short throw kit does, really this is a game of leverage. So the overall length of the stalk is probably about the same. What you're doing is changing the fulcrum point of where the pivoting happens to give you a shorter upper half, a longer lower half, which takes a little bit more effort, but for the same movement up top, you get more movement in the bottom, which means instead of that 5-inch throw we should have we can measure the total allowable throw here, but we'll have a much reduced throw on this side. Before we get too far here, I did want to ask you guys, for those of you that have had your head units replaced already, what have you gone to and what do you like or dislike about it? I really want to go to a new Android Auto head unit. I know most of those are doubled in, so that'll require a new bezel. So if any of you guys use any of the things like that, is there certain ones you like, you don't like, any issues you've had finding parts, let me know. That'd be greatly beneficial here. I'm also planning pretty soon to be replacing these seats. Instead of repairing them, I think I'm going to go ahead and replace them with a little bit something more modern. I've been looking at the Corvette A4 replacement seats. Seem like a pretty decent package for the money. Have any of you guys used those before? Would you recommend them? Would you recommend I look elsewhere? Again, let me know in the comments. Okay, we'll get our 10mm back in these. These have not been out before, so they are definitely torqued down a little tighter. We'll go ahead and break them all loose first. And we'll pull them all out. Up to this point, everything has been torqued a little bit differently, and I believe most of it's been apart before by previous owners and shops. These I don't believe have ever come out before. Alright, so there we are. As you can see, this is our shifter. You can see it working in there. With that, we'll go ahead and pry this up. There shouldn't be anything holding it down. Okay, this is going to require a little bit of effort to break free. There we go. We got that loose. Mine would not come off by hand. And this just lifts out. Alright, and there we are. This is the shifter as it comes out. I'll go ahead and lay it next to the new one so you can kind of see the difference. This cup will need to be transferred. It did not come with a new one in the kit I got. But that should be a pretty easy thing to pop off, re-grease, and put back in. Here we can see the cup that actually controls the shifting. You can see it's still got some grease on it. Probably add a little bit more around there. Make sure we get some in the cup. You see a little bit of plastic shavings in there just from use. This is the torque tube inside. I know there's not a lot of good light, but you can see the torque tube, basically the backbone of the car here. Is right inside of this. So we'll go ahead and we'll get that swapped out real quick. I'll show you the difference in the two, and it goes back together just like it came out, and that is that. It does not take long, does not require more than simple hand tools. This is a very easy job, and if you can find a kit like I did under $100, we'll see if it makes a difference, but it seems like a really worthwhile upgrade. Okay guys, shift knobs aside, this is what we have. Okay, so obviously there's not going to be a huge difference in the two, but we can see our difference from the ball, the actual fulcrum point on this one, and this one is pretty significant. And that's where we're pivoting on, and that's what's giving us our mechanical advantage. Our overall length's the same. Our actual shifter length, this one's going to be a little bit shorter, just because everything's moved. Our turret is a little bit taller to accommodate for that. But otherwise, you can kind of see this is a nice piece of billet machined aluminum here, I believe. That's what it feels like. Seems like a good quality part, unlike the little stamped metal car came with that's lasted all these years. So I don't imagine we'll have any issues with it. We'll go ahead and get that cup swapped over and greased, and with that, we'll get it back in the car. Okay. With a little bit of grease added, we're going to go ahead and get this fit in here. So see how it works. Obviously that cup is being reused, so it slides right in. And our bolt holes all line up perfectly. So when they said it was made for this car, clearly they knew what they're talking about. These things, I know there are some expensive ones out there. I don't really see why they need to be expensive. There's not a whole lot to it. Unless you're replacing, I guess, more internal parts, but just for the short throw shifter, this is a turret, got some springs inside, and the shift knob. Looks like decent quality all the way around. So for $80, I'm finding it hard, even if it doesn't give you much improvement, hard to say that you shouldn't do this. Remember, you do want this to be pretty secure. This is not something you can easily access from inside the car as you're on the go. So from that, we can see, oh wow. Make sure you function check it before you take it out, or before you button everything up. But the difference is amazing already. So from first, even with the knob up in a high position, to second is very abrupt, and it has a very solid feel. We can go ahead and do our ruler measurement again. Okay, so from the front of the ball there at 0, we are now at 2.5 inches. So from 5 to 2.5, this is a remarkable difference. Again, would highly recommend this for $80. There is no reason not to do this. So from there, we're just going to get everything cleaned up and buttoned back up, and that'll be that. So one issue I've noticed with this dust cover, the top boot here, it doesn't fit over this turret. The new turret is a little bit taller and bigger. So there's a line right around this that I think if you were to cut that, it would fit nice and tightly on this new turret. Probably would seal pretty well too. I'm not going to go ahead and do that just yet. It seems to be sealing around all the edges just fine without that. It's not interfering in any way with the shifter operation, so I don't think that's an issue for me. So I'm just going to leave it like it is and not damage this factory boot here. And we'll go ahead and install everything and make sure that it works before we drive it. But I just want to let you guys know, you could cut that. It would probably fit down pretty well. I don't think there's a need to, so we're just going to let it stand and see how that works. Okay, well, with that we are done. As you can see, shifter's installed. The leather did rip a little bit getting this the pin out of here. So when it comes time to do this new head unit, I'll probably replace this shift knob as well. But I will have to say, this is a phenomenal feeling shifter. And as I showed you guys already, we'll do it with the shift knob on there. There we go at the beginning. I mean, that's 2-inch shifts. So this is a phenomenal improvement over what was in there. Still not a lot of effort required. So far I would say, would highly recommend. We'll see how long it lasts. My question to you guys is, have you guys used one of these before? And if so, if it costs more than $80, did you seem to get any more than I did there? I mean, I'm curious. I don't know what else these would come with, but overall, that seems like a phenomenal value. Well, okay, guys, there you have it. Short throw shifters installed. Didn't take long at all, as you guys saw. Only required a couple basic tools, and if you haven't done it yet, I would say definitely do it. Again, let me know what you guys have done before. If you guys tried this, any issues with them, any other brands that you guys recommend. Again, if you've paid more than $80, did you get any more for $80? I'm just curious. As for the seats, let me know if you guys have used the Corvo seats or any other brand. If you have any recommendations, we'll be looking into those, as well as in a wireless Android Auto head unit. And with that, this is 4K Motoring. I'm Chris, and we'll see you next time.